All right, D-Man, we were talking about Odell Beckham.
Yes.
Let's just cut to the chase. You want him, or let's forget what you have to give up. Do you want him on your team?
I would, yes. Number one, he's a premier talent.
Right.
Yes, injuries have been a problem the last couple of years, but I don't necessarily think he's injury prone.
Right.
Clearly, he has Jarvis Landry here to vouch for anything and everything Browns. By all accounts, by most accounts, Landry's happy here and seems to be cryptically recruiting a trade, you would think.
By the way, that doesn't seem right to me that they're allowed to even do that. The owners and general managers can't do that. Here's Odell Beckham, 26 years old, 5 NFL seasons, 77 receptions last year, 1,052 yards, 6 touchdowns, 390 receptions in his career, and has missed 16 games over the past 2 seasons due to injuries.
Well, and look at that. Hold it up there, Brian, for a second. Look at that. 5,476 receiving yards in just 59 games. He's averaging close to 100 yards a game in his NFL career.
Is he wearing a fish on his head? What is that?
Easy. That's his blonde mop.
Oh.
But, no, I mean, how could you not want a Beckham on your team? Now, the question is,
what do you have to give up?
If, in fact, the Giants are to move him or want to move him, their demands would be astronomically high. Would the Browns be willing to meet it or meet that a demand of that?
Well, listen to what we asked our viewers and our cleveland.comers, and that is, would you rather trade for Odell Beckham, Antonio Brown, or neither? So let's take a look at some of the responses. Glenn Berger starts us off. Between the two of them, I would take Beckham. He's younger. Has suffered several injuries, however. The Browns need a lot of help on defense at this stage, and they're rebuilding, and I think that it's wiser to spend money on defense. Peter J. Butler, neither. Too many issues, plus a big payroll hit. Do not sacrifice much-needed draft picks or in their prime players. It is a proven path to success. Kevin Piles, Beckham would be my reluctant choice of the two. If I would consider either of them, it would also depend on what the Browns would have to give up in the trade, obviously. Rick May, I'm not sure I'd want either. Both are excellent receivers, but their diva personalities would be a deterrent to team chemistry. Pete Shane, Odell Beckham, he's much younger than Antonio Brown, and do you really think the Steelers would trade Brown to another AFC North team? I don't. So there you have it.
Of the two, the most likely, and I'd said it was unlikely, but of those two, the most likely is Beckham.
I just don't see Pittsburgh making that trade with the Cleveland Browns. Would you? We're talking about Beckham. Would you want Antonio Brown? Yeah.
If I say no, then you're going to say, well, how could you turn your back on a receiver that's so prolific? But given all of what comes with Antonio Brown, I say no. And then you say, well, what about Beckham? To me, they're not the same. I mean, Brown creates an awful lot more chaos, it seems to me.
First of all, you got to call him Mr. Big Chest.
Mr. Big Chest. I don't know that Beckham is destroying Eli the way Brown has destroyed Roethlisberger. I don't know. Something about Brown rubs me the wrong way, and I guess I'd be willing to try to deal with the eccentricities of Beckham.
Why do you have to have divas? Why do you have to have those problems? Why isn't there just some guy in the perfect mold who's just a good guy and a good teammate?
Well, I've always wondered, Les, why do wide receivers have to be divas as opposed to left tackles or even edge rushers or great corner? I mean, you could say the cornerbacks, the Deons of those.
Well, Deion sort of made that up.
But receivers, for some reason, feel like they are the best player on the team.
They're more diva-ish than quarterbacks.
In many cases, yes. Yeah. And the reality is, even a great receiver is only targeted a certain amount of times a game.
Right.
He only catches an even smaller amount of targets. So for the amount of plays they're directly involved, they sure are pretty intense with the diva stuff and the look at me stuff.